Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for another devotional. Today we are in John chapter 4. I'm going to read verses 1 through 6 today. It states, "Now when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard that he was making and baptizing more disciples than John," so his ministry is picking up steam, although Jesus himself did not baptize, but only his disciples, he left Judea and departed again for Galilee. So he's leaving. There's movement now in his ministry. And he had to pass through Samaria. We'll get to that in a second. So he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour. So what John, the author, is doing here is he's basically giving us a little bit of the backstory about the environment that surrounded the ministry of Jesus as it grew. And what John wants us to know is that there are many challenges that Jesus is going to have to navigate, right, as his ministry continues to grow. I mean, he's going to have to deal with things like religious leaders and religious pressure and cultural nuances and differing religious beliefs and even cultural corruption in his day. But what I love about Jesus is that he's willing to step in the mess of this whole thing. And right here, Jesus steps onto forbidden land. It is the region of Samaria. And what you need to know is that Jews despised Samaritans and the land where they lived. They actually considered Samaritans sellouts because of a split that happened in Old Testament times. Therefore, because of that split, many devout Jews, like highly religious Jews, refused to step foot into this region. But not Jesus. He just walks right into it and goes to a town actually known for its drunkenness. It was actually renamed drunken as a title, which is what Sychar means. It means drunk all the time, which is what this town was composed of, a bunch of drunkards. But note, Sychar was not always this way. It was a town formerly known as Shechem. Now, Shechem is where Abraham actually first resided when he came to the land that he knew as Canaan. And one of the first things Abraham did was build an altar to God in Shechem, in this town. And later, his grandson, Jacob, aka Israel, whose descendants would become the Israelites, would buy a piece of land here, and we assume dug this particular well that Jesus is sitting by. And it was here that Jesus stopped on his journey, and I'm sure Jesus was just reflecting on the history behind this location, that this was a spot where Abraham and Jacob had taken a rest before him, and so Jesus takes a break in a location of great historical significance. But now, it's just a town of a bunch of drunkards. So notice how Jesus has just gone from one audience to another in our story, right, through John. He was just interacting with a religious leader named Nicodemus, and now he's about to interact with the religious opposition in a town full of drunkards. How about that? This is what I love about Jesus. There is nowhere he's unwilling to go and no person he's unwilling to reach. I mean, he will overcome every obstacle so that you might know him and his love for you. So if you're concerned today that you might be like unreachable or unredeemable or unlovable, I want you to know this. You are wrong. You are not unreachable, you are not unredeemable, and you are not unlovable. Jesus will do anything and everything to reach and redeem you. He will even walk onto forbidden land into a city of drunkards to save you. So the real issue is not whether or not he's going to accept you. The real issue is whether or not you will reject your false assumptions and beliefs about him and accept him. So do that today. Accept the fact that Jesus loves you, and there is no wall he won't kick down, and no lie he won't tear down to come after you. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you today. If it has, share it with someone else, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.